The Bloody Fingers are a faction dedicated to Mohg, the Lord of Blood. We encounter them throughout the lands between, always attacking our Tarnished relentlessly, swinging with blades specifically designed to let our blood and offer it to their master. While it would be easy to wave them away as a set of challenging invaders placed throughout the land to add more danger to our travels, there's a surprising amount of depth hidden within very few pieces of weapon and item descriptions. Why are they called Bloody Fingers? How did they come to serve Mohg? And why has the Bloody Finger hunter Yura dedicated himself to defeating them? The first of these enemies we are likely to encounter is Bloody Finger Fingerarius. He will invade our world while we travel to the ravine leading northeast from Agil Lake. He strikes quickly with a dagger, and for many Tarnished, it is their first experience with blood loss. While Fingerarius may seem like an insurmountable foe at first, we are soon joined by the Bloody Finger hunter Yura, who will aid us in this battle. Should we defeat Fingerarius, we take his weapon, Reduvia, the description of which tells us it is carried by the noble servants of the Lord of Blood. It goes on to say, this dagger rips the flesh as it enters, inflicting blood loss with sickening efficiency. A proud testament to the success of its vicious design, this weapon is perpetually coated in blood. The description of Reduvia shows us the obsession with blood inherent in the Bloody Fingers. After defeating our first invading finger, we can then find a summon sign in Raya Lucaria. Yura needs assistance, and our Tarnished can join his fight. When we arrive, we see Yura doing battle with a Bloody Finger Ravenmount assassin. While the specific enemy doesn't drop anything to deepen the lore of the Bloody Fingers, their existence shows that not all Bloody Fingers are named. There are others working under the direction of Mohg, hunting Tarnished across the lands between. After this battle, Yura warns us about Eleonora, the Violet Bloody Finger, deadliest of their order. We can encounter Eleonora at the Second Church of Marika, and she is indeed a fearsome foe. Again, we see the Bloody Fingers taking advantage of blades that cause blood loss. After defeating her, we gain 2 items, both of which tell us more about the Bloody Fingers and their covenant with Mohg. The twin Naginata tells us it was forged in the land of reeds, and that Eleonora's mastery of the sword was such that her onslaught was likened to a whirlwind, but now her legacy is stained by accursed blood. From this we learn 2 important things. Eleonora, like Yura, is from the land of reeds, and her legacy has been ruined by siding with Mohg. She also drops the purifying crystal tear, which can be mixed in the flask of wondrous physic, and the resulting concoction purifies the curse from Mohg, Lord of Blood's terrifying rite of blood. This helps immensely in our confrontation with the Lord of Blood, and was clearly entrusted to her as his strongest Bloody Finger. The final Bloody Finger we can encounter is Bloody Finger Okina in the Church of Repose at Mountaintop of the Giants. By defeating Okina, we gain Rivers of Blood, Katana. It's described as the weapon of Okina, swordsman of the land of reeds, a cursed weapon that has felled countless men. It goes on to say that when Mohg, the Lord of Blood, first felt Okina's sword and madness upon his flesh, he had a proposal: to offer Okina the life of a demon whose thirst would never go unsated. He also drops the Okina mask, which tells us, the more he sharpened his mind, the more the absurdities of the world came into stark relief, and so Okina renounced it all, and rose to a higher plane. There was only himself, his katana, and its mastery. From these items we learn a few things. First, that Okina is from the land of reeds, same as Eleonora and Yura. Second, he actually did battle with Mohg. Third, his thirst for battle led him to serve Mohg instead of slaying him. And lastly, that his pursuit of the sword stood above all else, the call of grace, the search for great runes, and likely, his devotion to Mohg. Not much is known about the land of reeds, but after facing these Bloody Fingers and seeing the ferocity with which they and Yura fight, it's clear that this land develops strong warriors. It seems they follow the ideals of samurai, dedicating themselves to honor, but the allure of power and battle make them easier for the Lord of Blood to sway. This is why Yura is a hunter of Bloody Fingers. He is out to destroy what those from his homeland have become. Now that we know who the Bloody Fingers are, the question remains, how did they gain their title? And how did they gain an audience with Mohg? The promise of power is what drew them to turn on their fellow Tarnished, but who made that promise? As it should turn out, the person behind the recruitment of Bloody Fingers is none other than one of the first NPCs we meet in Elden Ring, White Mask Var. You may remember Var as the man who welcomes you into the Lands Between after you leave the stranded graveyard and enter Limgrave for the first time. He's very dismissive of your Tarnished, taking little interest in you due to the fact that you are maidenless. After defeating Godric the Grafted and meeting the Two Fingers, he can be encountered again, asking you what you thought of your audience with the Fingers. If you express doubts, saying they didn't seem right, Var starts to come around and praises you for being so perceptive. This is where his questline begins, and we get a look into how one becomes a Bloody Finger. Var will provide you with a festering Bloody Finger, asking you to use it to circumvent the will of the Two Fingers. Once you have used this item and defeated 3 fellow players, Var will tell you he is pleased you are enjoying his gift, and he can see you have a taste for noble blood. We then learn why you have been invading other players' games. Var tells us he wished to anoint you a proper inductee, a knight to serve Luminary Mohg, the Lord of Blood, and establish a new dynasty. Luminary Mohg has strength, vision, and of course, love. This is how we discover where the Bloody Fingers come from. Using cult-like tactics with the promise of strength, vision, and love, Var draws other Tarnished into serving Mohg. From here, in order to cement a Bloody Finger's loyalty, there is one final task: to soak a rag, the Lord of Blood's favor, in the blood of a maiden. While our Tarnished is maidenless, we are able to do this by soaking the item in the blood of the maiden corpse in the Church of Inhibition, or at the Chapel of Anticipation if you've unlocked the second belfry at the 4 belfries. The description of the Lord of Blood's favor changes after soaking it. The final trial is complete. Luminary Mohg is sure to welcome you into his service as a knight who will lay the foundations for his dynasty. However, we are not yet a Bloody Finger. There is one more ritual to be observed. Upon returning the favor to Var, he says, "Ah, my lambkin, you've completed your final trial, and with this you are a formal inductee, a knight who will assist Luminary Mohg, the Lord of Blood, in the establishment of a new dynasty. Now, give me your finger. This noble blood will be an immutable badge of honor once it settles inside of you." He then takes your hand and infuses your finger with cess blood while your Tarnished howls in pain. He goes on to say, "Never forget that feeling of agony, for it is what binds you to Luminary Mohg, to all of us. You have the sweetest scream, my lambkin." If we continue to speak with Var, we are then granted the Pure Blood Knight's Medal, which reads, "Used to be granted audience with Mohg, only it is not yet time, for Mohg yet slumbers beside the divinity. Be patient, the new dynasty is nigh." This medal is used to access the Dynasty Mausoleum entrance Site of Grace just outside the steps of Mogwyn's palace. Though Var does not wish us to use the medal yet, the descriptions of the weapons gained by other Bloody Fingers make it clear that they have done the same, and had their personal audiences with Mohg, where they ultimately decided to serve under his rule. Unfortunately for Mohg and Var, our Tarnished is not so easily swayed. It is possible to do battle with Var should you invade him near the Mausoleum Dynasty midpoint Site of Grace. He shows nothing but contempt for your Tarnished for choosing to do battle with him, even though, ironically, invading and destroying other Tarnished is what he himself has encouraged you to do from the start. Upon his defeat, he says, "Oh, Luminary Mohg, please grant the strength you promised. I have given everything. Please, my lord, please answer me. Luminary Mohg, bless the Mogwyn dynasty with love." In the end, it seems Var himself was another victim of Mohg's ambition, promised power from a god who had no intention of ever giving it. The Bloody Fingers are yet another faction of Tarnished being manipulated by the gods that inhabit the Lands Between. Like Rykard, Mohg uses his Tarnished to increase his own strength, though not by physically consuming them, instead drawing from the blood they gather to feed his blood bedchamber. Why exactly Mohg uses Tarnished for this purpose is unknown, but knowing that he's using the blood of his bedchamber to try and revive Mikola, we can assume having Tarnished out in the world murdering others who cannot die, and eternally providing him with more blood, is the most efficient way to make sure his power never falters. You would think the tale of the Bloody Fingers would end with Mohg's defeat. However, players are still able to invade each other's games, and it's very likely you will defeat Mohg before encountering Bloody Finger Okina. While their purpose is to keep spilling blood for their lord, it's also true that many of these Bloody Fingers simply live for battle, to test their strength against other warriors, and to bask in the glory of their deaths. If you yourself are one of these Bloody Fingers, leave a comment telling us about your favorite builds. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so we can keep providing you with more dives into Elden Lore.